Hey y'all, welcome to the T-Work podcast, hosted by Grant Banko and me, Adam Moreau. From entrepreneurs and athletes to the rat racers of corporate America and those who refuse to be put in a box, we want to share their stories and understand how they ended up where they are. Success and development come in many shapes and sizes. We want to hear about it all. So grab a drink and pull up a seat. Let's spill some tea and get to
Welcome back to the T-Work podcast. Today we have a special guest, Sam Lister. He is our good friend from college, and he's the guy that we talk about that we wanted to start the podcast with, but he didn't take it seriously. But now he's on. Sam, I have no idea what you do, so I don't know how to intro you. So I'm going to pass it to you.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, I did completely ignore this opportunity before it started. So I'm long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks for having me.
You're missing out on tens of listeners.
maybe 9.
Well, thanks for having me. I am in FP&A, which is financial planning and analysis. So commercial finance for a company called Nuvei. We are a payments technology company. So we're a processor, acquire, do all that fun stuff on the back end of the payments world. I personally handle a handful of our verticals from a revenue down to gross margin perspective, very revenue and commercial facing on the finance side. So yeah, it's kind of general overview.
I'm gonna fire back real quick. Explain everything you just said like I'm 5.
All right. Okay. Which part? The FP&A or the
I
what?
understood those initials.
Don't
Okay.
use any of the keywords that you need for earnings calls in this description.
Yeah, make your job sound really fun at your or your current daughter's future career day in 2nd grade.
Oh no one would find this one. No, what? So what it is
You did say all that fun stuff, so there has to be something
yeah,
fun
no,
in
I
there
enjoy
unless
it.
you're lying to yourself and others.
So it's basically a lot of strategic finance. So I'm partnering heavy with the commercial teams doing a lot of our financial reporting specifically. So think P&L, complete revenue down to gross margin by our specific lines of business. So we break our lines of business into um, basically how we operate within verticals and partners. So I'm heavy in our B2B space, in our government. What do you guys like?
You already used the words I said don't use.
he said describe it to a 5th grader.
No, actually, I said a 5-year-old, and then I gave him grace and said a 2nd grader. So, and then he's already throwing back on our P&L and B2B and verticals.
I help a company that makes money make more money. That is
Great.
what I do
Perfect.
as efficiently as possible.
How?
That's where I have to get specific. So yeah, it's just heavy strategy based. So I think probably easiest to describe a payments company is every time you swipe your card, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, whatever you use, there is a cost in doing so. And the second you swipe or pay online, there are about 8 to 10 things that happen after that between money to a bank to a middleware, back and forth. And then all of a sudden the merchant going, yep, you're approved. So there's a lot of steps on that back end, and that's what Nuvei does. So that's heavy. There's a lot of risk involved in that. There's fraud protection. There's a couple steps that are very tech heavy where, one bank has to communicate to a bank in Canada or Europe and, relay that money back all the way to the merchant's, final resting spot, their bank. And that all happens within seconds, right? So payments itself is it's now a buzzword. It used to be kind of like the small little corner, and now everyone's really, really getting into payments because of how much you can monetize embedding that into your software. So we help people do that.
Now I actually understand.
Yeah,
I feel way better.
Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, like our B2B, business to business, for those
There we
people
go.
that need that. So like, say I pay FlexPro Grip for an invoice, right? Well, the second I hit pay, my payment processor, or sorry, your payment processor will take all the money, do all the steps I just talked about, and then if you had Nuvei attached to the back end of whatever software you use for, your invoicing, it would directly connect to your ERP system in live time and say, all the money's been reconciled. Someone just paid FlexPro Grip $200 for this, and now it's showing up in my QuickBooks and NetSuite, Oracle, whatever you use. So,
What is ERP?
enterprise resource product.
Okay. I just didn't know. So
by utilizing Stripe, am I utilizing one of your competitors?
Yeah. So Stripe uses kind of like a basic plug and play model, where they're really, really universal, kind of however they get used. Nuvei more specializes in kind of building into whatever software we partner with or system, where it's a little less or it's a little more in depth and can do more things on the back end. But Stripe's kind of universally used for small businesses. It's very straightforward. Yeah.
You calling me small? No, we are a super basic e-commerce platform though. We only have a few payment options, and for us it made sense to go with literally the easiest thing imaginable, which helps that you're kind of breaking it down because it's not stuff that I fully understood. It was just recommended to us at the time.
Yeah. And that's, we see that in the space a lot, that, some of these new processors come on board, and whether they offer very straightforward fees, they lock you in for a year without changing whatever. There's all these strategies, but Nuvei's just got this kind of wide suite of offerings that, just are a little, I don't want to call it advanced, but a little more specific and tailored to your needs. But I'm not a product person at all, so could also be completely wrong about all that.
So how, instead of just diving deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole, how did you actually get into this initially?
Recruiter, fully by chance. So I started with the Paya. I started with Paya 4.5 years ago. Paya was acquired by Nuvei 2 years ago now. Purely by chance. And if you talk to most people in payments, most people end up in payments purely by chance. It's, you hear the words fintech, payments, all these cool buzzwords, but for the longest time, you have some of these old payments systems, specifically Paya used to be a company, or it used to be a part of Sage, and Sage, massive ERP system, and Sage spun Paya off years and years ago. But you either have people that have been in payments for 20 years, or you have people that ended up there like me 5 years ago, that I wasn't looking to go into payments, but it's kind of this cool space that once you get in, it's kind of hard to get out.
So breaking that down even more of how you got into this, besides Paya, like what was your actual background? We obviously know what you went to school for, like Banko and I do, but I'd love if you could break this down further for any listeners out there of what you wanted to do, how you ended up down this path, and then just whether it's by chance, by recruiter, how you ultimately got sucked in deep to the finance world.
Yeah. I went to school for economics, was my undergrad. I ended up doing my MBA in finance and analytics. I thought in undergrad I was going to go work very public policy based. I did my concentration in public policy. So I worked for a think tank in college, a lot of theory based research, presented a few papers, and then kind of started getting closer to graduation. I was like, well, I either have to become a professor or I have to go work for a think tank. If I'm working for a think tank, I'm heavy politically based and making like 50 grand a year. And that just didn't sound, too appetizing from a long term perspective. So my wife and I moved to Atlanta 5, 6 years ago, and I had finished up my MBA and actually started working for an energy consulting company, and did a lot of economic forecasting and financial forecasting. So was heavy into P&Ls for specific utility cooperatives. So your Cobb County MC, those types of people that consult out these analysts that say, how much power are you going to use for a year, and how does that result in your bottom dollar? Very engineering based, and I didn't like it. But I really liked the financial aspect of things. Have always liked the financial aspect of things, and so that kind of led to looking for different opportunities. And then, I knew this potential opportunity was in corporate finance. I didn't really know what that meant, because finance in the real world versus finance in an MBA is massively different. But yeah, have been in it for 5 years now, and kind of never looked back.
Do you wish that you would have gotten your degree in accounting or CPA, given you're in the corporate finance side? And my understanding of corporate finance, it's very accounting heavy in Excel. So I feel like that would be beneficial more than economics, but I'm curious from your point of view.
10 years ago, yes. Now, no, because you used to have all CFOs were CPAs. And Grant, you and I have talked about this before. The CFO route used to be know every dollar going in and out of the company, know how to calculate it, know, every IR calculation, NPV, all that kind of stuff. Recently, especially with technology coming, advancing so far in the financial space, you don't need to have that human computer background to be a good CFO. A lot of CFOs and the successful ones that I've seen are very strategy based. So I struggled at first not having the accounting background, not being CPA based, because I would jump into ledgers and journal entries and would really have to understand accruals and all this. Now that I've had that experience, it's less daunting. So I'm glad I had more of like a strategy and business perspective going into finance, and instead of an accounting perspective trying to go into business. And I'm really good at Excel regardless. So it's like, you just get used to it.
When did you get good at Excel?
Oh, 4-ish years ago. It took some time. I actually talked to a professor at FSU who he asked me one thing: if I were to change about my economics undergrad, what would it be? And I said there needs to be a semester dedicated to mastering Excel and basic programs that you use in the real world. So Power BI, SQL, Excel, working in actual ERP systems, looking at ledgers, stuff like that, because there has to be a combination of the two to where, you can understand what's happening in a business, but can you show that on a screen with something you made? And that didn't really start happening for me until 4-ish years ago.
Do you think that'll be necessary going forward, given AI's uptake in the last couple of years and going forward, like the basics of accounting and ledgers and all that, I feel like could be taken away and not necessary, and more like, as you said, like the CFO has moved to more of a strategy based person over time as technology has gotten better. do you see it moving more and more that way, where it won't be numbers based? It will be more and more on the strategy side altogether.
100%. I think in a matter of 5 years, entry level financial analysts and entry level accountants will not really exist. Um, because for the longest time, those entry level people were data grabbers. It was grunt work. It was going into a PDF invoice and grabbing this. Well, now all I have to do in Adobe PDF is say, summarize this. I'm looking for this metric. Go grab it. And I can type that in a prompt box if I know how to do it correctly. So I truly believe that the age of grunt work entry level analyst, not everywhere, like your smaller companies and companies that are slow to data will take longer, but most companies in 5 years, the entry level position will be obsolete.
What separates you or somebody who is good at what you do from someone else?
Nowadays, it's being able to tell a story. So for me, like FP&A, part of FP&A is how's Flex Pro Grip doing? You know nothing about the financials this month. I'm going to paint you a picture with every dollar that came in and out of this place. So I need to be able to tell that to the CEO, CFO, chief of strategy, chief of marketing, HR, everything. So where people really struggle is not being able to take results and explain what those results are saying to a large group of people. Because if I speak to a CFO, he's going to understand what I'm saying, word for word, because we speak finance language. But if I'm speaking to a head of product who can't understand why his product costs XYZ and whether it's, resource costs or hosting costs or something he's doing that's losing money, I have to be able to say, hey, this is exactly where those dollars are being lost. Here's where they're being made. And so people who can't paint the picture for anyone in the company tend to struggle.
How would you, so knowing that now, and that professor asks you that same question of what do you wish you got more of, would storytelling and communication be more involved in be beneficial in some way, shape, or form in school in your eyes?
Yeah. Because you can do a presentation and that's fine. But if I'm an undergrad and I'm presenting on some theoretical research paper that Milton Friedman wrote in the 60s, like that's way different than sitting in front of a CFO going, here's why we did this and here's what happened. So absolutely. And I think that's what makes me nervous with the direction we're kind of heading between, like you said, AI, where this is maybe a little bit of a rabbit hole, but part of the concern with AI, new technologies, all this is having the experience doing the grunt work and getting into the invoices, getting into the journal entries, doing the manual calculations for people like me really helped me learn. I don't think a lot of people are going to have that going forward, where you're going to have a lot of people who know how to set up your data systems for the ledgers and the invoices. But like that kid coming out of college isn't going to have the experience of, oh, here's the invoice. What does that fee mean? Why did we pay that? And, actually look at it step by step. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting, in 5 years, we're going to be like, do we know what, is that entry level guy actually getting the experience in the weeds? Because the weeds make it much easier to start doing the strategy stuff down the road.
If you were going to rank top qualities desired in someone in your position, let's say you're now hiring, what order of like the top 3 to 5 things are you putting up there? Like people skills, technical abilities. I'm sure there's other things that are in there, but I would just really like to know your rankings, kind of this hierarchy of what you're seeing today and then maybe how that was different from 5 to 10 years ago when you were getting started in the industry.
Yeah, communication's number one. Given finances impact and everything, where like at the end of the day, you run a business to make money, right? So every piece of the business being ran has some sort of financial impact. And so being able to communicate to every person in a company, and that's not even C-suite, right? That is, oh, hey, I need to talk to the head of marketing for this specific channel, and they're doing this new campaign. I need to calculate the potential return from the campaign they're about to go spend 20K on, right? So, but then at the, 20 minutes later, I need to go talk to our head of accounting to understand why something happened in the journal this way. And so there's communication is so key because you're talking to so many different types of people. Technical skills are huge, but it's more technical on understanding the flows of dollars throughout a company, revenue in, expenses out. Then you have cash flow forecast, you have CapEx, you have, the OpEx, internal commissions, like all these kind of things. Like you have to understand, yeah, you sell $1, but how do you break that dollar out into, or you make $1, where does everything in that dollar go to? Where are we allocating it? And then I think one of the biggest things is just organization. We have so many good tools at our disposal, don't know what that word was. We have
Disclosure,
so many good,
I might start using that.
yeah, geez. We have so many good tools that we can use that help, files need to go here. We need to organize invoices, entries, emails, all this kind of stuff where you have someone that comes in and they don't care about systems or, efficiency, where it's all over the place. It just wastes time. So now that, we have stuff like SharePoint. SharePoint's completely changed how we work, where 5-10 years ago, I'm sure some people had access to it, but if I have a PowerPoint and we're presenting a QBR and I can have 10 people working on it, that makes everyone's life a little easier, right? Where it used to be like, oh, hey, this is PowerPoint V1, please send it back V2, and all of a sudden, you do that a million times. And so organization's huge.
What is QBR?
Quarterly business review.
Okay.
Do that with like external partners or internal channels, etc.
Okay.
We're an anti-abbreviation podcast.
You're not the worst at it. We've had someone else on that I think in the span of 5 minutes spit off 15 different ones, and we had to stop him, and we had no idea what he was talking about.
It's all the military guys that come in and drop all their abbreviations. I don't know that stuff.
Yeah. But basically what I heard is if you were hiring someone, you would hire a vibes person.
Absolutely not. I would hire the opposite of you.
But no, I think I would like to spend more time on Banko's kind of joke response there. And that's part of what I was trying to figure out. Like if communication is really what is most important, are you looking truly for a candidate that above all else has communication skills? Like if you could only pick one tool out of a 5 tool player, that is truly the one that you're starting with?
If my pick of players are finance based, if my pool of players to pick from, I know are MBAs or econ backgrounds, yes. Now I'm not going to pick a random person off the street with no finance background and say, well, they can speak well, but I truly believe this, and I think it's partly because of it's how I am. So much of what you do in the real world is taught, where having someone that is willing to learn and is curious is probably up there with communication, because every company does things different ways. Like I said, the way of doing it in the MBA is not the real world way. There's things that can help, but that's not that's I have not used one template from my MBA in the real world. Like that's just it's not reality. Um, but if I have someone who's willing to learn and who's curious as an analyst and is like eager to do that, and then I can also send them into a meeting and they can communicate what we're seeing, and that removes a step of questions behind that layer where if that meeting gets done and someone immediately emails me, well, I don't know what the hell they just said, then now I have to go waste my time to go cover that up. But communication, being so key is huge in our world because it just reduces time and it creates efficiency.
So there is a base level of technical skill that you need, but once that's met,
Yeah.
the willingness to work and improve, and then the ability to communicate outranks the technical capabilities, knowing that
Yeah.
you can get on job experience.
Yeah, yeah, because I think especially all these companies now, like if I go into Nuvei's business learning center that we have access to these coaching websites and webinars and practice exercises for almost anything I want to do. I can learn SQL code, I can learn Power BI, I can learn basic Excel. But then there's also like, oh, hey, here's kind of like a marketing course. And so I think now that that's so readily accessible, you know, there's so much on the job training you can get along with just actual training, um, that, there's those soft skills in the background are almost more important in my mind.
I th- I think you bring up a good point. Like, yes, I was half joking with the vibes higher, but I mean, I kind of view it in the way you put it is when you get to the final round of interviews with, and say you have three candidates, all three could do the job at that point if they made it to the final interview. So it really, at that point, kind of does come down to vibes. Like,
Yeah.
do I like this person? Can I have a conversation with them? Do I want to see them every day? Like, I think that's some people miss that. They're like, I deserve this job because I'm very good at what I do. And they don't focus on the soft skills that you're speaking about.
100%. I mean, I've said it my whole career. I don't need to be my colleague's best friend, but if I'm spending more time with my colleague than my wife, during a week, I would prefer to like that person. I'd prefer to like my boss. I'd prefer, there are things where no, we don't need to be best friends and I don't need to hang out with you on the weekend. But especially as I'm getting older and I will start hiring people and having that like exactly like you said, do I want this person in my life daily? You know, where that holds a specific weight where if I know I can teach them the technical abilities to get maybe to where the top candidate is and I like them, then that's who I'm choosing. So they just have to have that kind of mix of ability to learn with personality that then makes me more comfortable in working with them.
I'm doing some thinking, Banko. So if you
So was
have
I.
more, you can
So
keep
was
going.
I. I
No,
guess I'm if do you have a question along the same or can I pivot?
it's kind of along the same
Then go
lines.
ahead. You're
All
good.
right, this will probably be my last question on the same topic. And Slister, I apologize if this sounds similar to what we've already been talking about, but I feel somewhat of a need to go back to a question that I asked earlier. Now that we've just peeled back some of the layers, if you are, or earlier you called what you do fun, but also said it doesn't, like, people aren't going to find this enjoyable. So like obviously there's some sort of dichotomy there. I know you enjoy what you do. Now, what is it that you enjoy or that you think people like you, like Banko, like financiers enjoy about the job that you're doing?
Before you answer, we do very different things in
Yeah.
finance.
You guys work in the finance world. I don't know, man.
I don't work with numbers like he does though, so we do very different things.
We are very different in that.
Well, there we go. I mean, that's even worth noting though. So
yeah,
like,
to me,
that context helps.
yeah, and you guys know this because we've known each other for 13 years now. But like I get passionate about things, and the things I get passionate about give me purpose to do them. I like the strategy and the game of corporate finance, right? Like everything has a purpose that you're doing. I need to understand the products the sales team is selling, right? Because then when these numbers come back for these products, and whether it's, partner specific strategy, product strategy, sales strategy, it's what are the numbers saying? And so it's this game of figuring out how to get, you know, the most juice out of the squeeze type situation. And to me, I don't know why I ended up liking it, but I just find business, it's ever changing. So it's not boring. It's not mundane. There's just so many different strategies and options you can take within, this kind of silo of what we work in that make it interesting. So I just got passionate about it, and that's worked out well.
Feel free to pivot now, Banko.
Okay.
I'm satisfied.
All right. I was gonna go back to because I feel like I should have known this, but I didn't know this. I'm assuming the think tank you were a part of was at FSU.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember you being in a think tank when we were roommates in college. So can you go more in depth what that was and like how that helped you? Because like I have no idea like what that even is because I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah. So it was actually one of the first ever on campus think tanks in America that are run by college intern students, right? So most think tanks kind of sit in capital cities that, they're either right leaning, left leaning, libertarian leaning, and then they have their focuses. Um, this think tank was very economic policy driven, very, very libertarian based. So very free market, deregulation, that kind of thing. And so I had a professor who I just found all his classes, captivating. Dr. Samuel Staley at FSU. He's still there. Um, Great guy, but also just he was a great devil's advocate professor who really wanted you to see multiple ways of seeing, the same coin. But what I did, he ran this specific little think tank called the DeVoe Moore Research Center, where we would do basically public policy studies for the state of Florida. So my senior year, I wrote a paper, a really long paper and it was an economic study on the effect of housing regulations in Florida and land development. And, given Florida's environmental focus of, you have the Everglades, you have all this conserved land. We kind of looked into, well, what does the state do with it? How does, when does it sell it off? How close can housing get? You have private parks, right, in Florida where it's not state owned. So we looked at all these things and we said, what's the most efficient way of land conservation in Florida, and how does that affect housing? And how does that affect, property taxes and stuff like that? So it was really interesting. I got to present the paper out in Las Vegas at a conference, but basically we used all that research kind of in our spare time, and would have these meetings where we'd run it off a bunch of interns and kind of talk about ideas to look at. And it really helped me from like the statistics perspective, because most econ majors probably could double major in stats. I was actually unknowingly like 2 classes away from double majoring. My academic counselor didn't tell me that till after I graduated, which was cool. Um, but it was really helpful in digging into statistical research. And also, we used a couple statistical programs like R and SAS to formulate our data. So it was a really good opportunity to kind of get a dose of how to make stats actually impactful into research instead of just gathering stats.
Are you the reason then that Florida's in this massive crisis with wetland conservation and building
No,
pickleball courts and high-rise condos right on
no,
the water?
I don't think anyone read my paper outside of mine.
So after all of that, the think tank wasn't worth it.
Maybe it was interesting.
You're
Yeah,
an
I think it
ass,
also
Banko.
helped me I think it helped me prove out I didn't want to do that either. Because it's so theory based. I kind of got to the end of the paper. I presented the paper. I was like super proud of it. And then my next step was kind of like, well, now what? And it's like, well, it's a theory paper. People are read it or they don't. And I'm like, okay, like, cool. I just spent a lot of time to just be like, all right, term paper's done.
I guess that's kind of fair, and that's tough. When I was working towards some economic pursuits, I never got that far in thinking what things could look like long term, but I enjoyed the theory. I enjoyed projects and presentations around potential creations. So I appreciate you sharing that now because I never got to the point of perspective of like, well, what does this actually mean? Rather than just writing a paper kind of as like an op-ed in a sense. Like it's a statistically driven op-ed at that point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Adam, you're one of the most practical people I've ever met, so I could see it driving you just nuts. Like, um, but yeah, I mean, it was fun. But yeah, like I either had to become a professor or you sit in these like very heavy political think tanks, and this is very heavy political pre the last 10 years, right? So now those think tanks are like supercharged, and I'm very thankful I'm not in that world.
And yes, I was joking that it wasn't worth it because, like, again, it brings up a good point of a lot of work you think you're doing it, whether it's in your job or in school, you think you're wasting your time, or at the end of it, you're like, why did I even do this? But then, like, in the moment at that point, but then 5 years later, you look back and you're like, oh, actually, this benefited me a lot, even though maybe no one read the paper. But
Yeah,
like you yourself now have that ability to tell a story or think through things and make sure it gets done or whatever and apply it to your current role. And I think that's a good perspective to have. I think if we would have asked you this question 3, 4 years ago, you might not have the same answer that you just gave us. If I think I've asked you
yeah,
before.
yeah. I agree, and I mean, I think in another 5 to 10 years, it may have a whole nother meaning, right? The older we get. So, yeah, completely agree.
Another huge point from that is the value in understanding what you don't want to do or discovering what your passions aren't. People always talk so much about trying to find their passion and what really motivates them, but get lost along the way in thinking that they're not advancing or not making strides towards what they actually want to be instead of actually recognizing that every time you discover you don't like something or don't care for something or don't want to pursue something in your future, that's actually a massive step in the right direction because you're narrowing the focus. Instead of looking for that one thing, I feel like you had this great opportunity in front of you and maybe you weren't able to realize it at the time, but now looking back, you realize how impactful that moment, that time, that experience actually was for you. Because not only did you get to learn and gain some experience, but you learned your life would not be a life worth living if you were trying to get political bills passed based on some regression analysis you made on the impact of, I don't know, some invasive species on off the coast of Panama City Beach.
Yeah, and I think that's goes to a broader point too of like none of us know what the hell we're doing, right? Like we're all just kind of like flowing through life, and like we're 31, right? Like we could all have 4 or 5 career changes from here. Like genuinely, you talk to people that are like maybe not 4 or 5, 2 to 3, whatever, but like in our 20s, you kind of have this like thought process of like, oh, I've got to figure it all out now. And then it's like, well, I'm in my 30s. I still don't need to have it all figured out. I think I'm pointed in the right direction. And then, like I look at people like Jake, for all the listeners, Jake's my 27-year-old brother. And it's like, yeah, 27, like you should still be looking at everything like I can go do whatever the heck I want. It's finding what I don't want to do. And yeah, I could have multiple career changes, but right now I found something that I do want to do, and it makes getting up every morning more enjoyable.
I'm just going to build off of the passion thing as well. I don't have a question beyond it. Um, I think everyone says find your passion, do what you love, and people think that immediately whatever they do, like even if they do think they love it, like they think immediately that's what they'll love. Like Sam, you said you didn't even know this job exists that you do currently. It was a recruiter. You kind of just fell into it. Everyone in your company basically fell into it. And I think it's more of the more you do one thing and get good at that one thing, it becomes your passion and you become to enjoy it instead of immediately being like, oh, I love doing this day one. Like there's got to be grunt work that sucks. But once you get through that and you're still in the same area and you start building that into your career, I think that's where the passion actually comes in. But there is finding it along the way too. That I'm not saying you should just stick to something that you hate and you'll eventually love it, but there is a little bit of that you have to do.
Yeah, and I think you and I have both experienced. Sometimes it's also just not the right fit, which can maybe cloudy your passion, right? Like I went somewhere about a year and a half ago, or 2.5 years ago. I transitioned jobs for a year, and I went to work for someone or company in the consulting services, um, and hated it. Just didn't enjoy it. Didn't have the passion because it was a very different type of finance, and was lucky enough to be able to get back to Nuvei in kind of the payment space a year and a half ago. And it's just sometimes the right fit also shows what you don't want to do. And that was something that, looking back, I was so excited for the opportunity because it was more money, it was a higher position, it had all the checks of, hey, I want this to happen. It was in Buckhead, it was a cool office, got all these perks, and 3-4 months in, I was miserable. So it also helped me. It felt like a failure at the time, but now that things have worked out on the back end, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
How did you come to grips with actually walking away? Did you have something lined up? Did you have this opportunity already lined up with Nuve? Did you know you were a person of interest for them? Or did you just say, I can't do this anymore. I got to get out and I'll just figure it out along the way?
No, things were lined up back at Nuvei to transition back. Some people reached out, and there was an opportunity that arose, very similar to what I used to do there, but actually with more responsibility and more verticals. So it kind of worked out perfectly. But yeah, it wasn't miserable enough to like not have a plan afterwards, especially with a pregnant wife. But like it was just just definitely not the right fit.
Perfect segue. This is where I was gonna go.
Oh, here we go.
How Livy is 1 year and 13 months, 14 months?
Yeah, just coming up on 14 months.
So, how has becoming a father changed your view on working, career, family life? Like, how did that change your, or did it change your perspective at all?
Oh yeah, completely changed it. A lot less of caring about tiny details that aren't going to matter. That's really been my whole life. Change with being a father is caring less about things that I used to really, really care about. Um, but becoming a dad just gives the perspective of like, okay, really, really, really shitty work day. But I get to go pick Livy up at 5:30 from daycare, and when I grab her, she's gonna smile or laugh because she has no clue what happened work wise. And then for a couple hours till she goes to bed, I'm in dad mode, and whether that's cooking dinner, playing, whatever it may be, it's been really healthy because then it's like, okay, I could have 5 emails that I know I need to answer before the end of the night because there's some deadline, whatever. But I have this, pocket of being a dad where she needs all my attention, and it's just been really, really good mentally, and just a great break from the busy times, especially.
Keep cooking, Banko. I'm just here to sit and listen.
Yeah, no, you're trying to learn. I get it. I get it. I was hoping Corey was going to turn and say we got to go, but damn. Okay.
Trying to set up a moment.
Yeah, it was actually, I saw Corey walk in the background. I was like, wow, that was good timing.
Can she fake it for this episode? Just go into labor really fast.
Yeah, for the listeners, Adam is expecting a baby any day now.
Our due date's tomorrow.
Okay.
At the time of this recording.
Perfect. So maybe we'll get it at the end of this. We'll see.
Fingers crossed, dude.
Yeah. I guess building off of that, do you think, like, thinking about the first couple months you had Livy to now, and you've been at Nuve for a year and a half now? 2 years?
Back at Nuve, a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at year and 4 months.
Okay.
Like
Looking at how productive you were at work, or how you sort of, I don't know the word. Words are not coming to me right now.
I wonder why.
I know how you approached your day to day. Did the perspective of Livy change? Like, did it give you more motivation, or like, because you hear the stories of, or I hear the stories at least, of people that have kids, like there's that extra motivation of like they actually are more successful in their careers because it's not just the selfishness of I want to be successful in my career. It's like, oh, now I actually have like a living, breathing thing that depends on me to be successful. So I'm just intrigued by what your experience has been so far.
So
a little bit.
intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's kind of twofold, right? Like I've always had motivation to be successful, but then the reason behind that motivation has shifted. I wouldn't say I'm more motivated, but I'm motivated for different reasons. Um, because a different part of this is like my days are very different now, right? Like for the longest time, it was just Alex and I hanging out and, doing our own thing. And now that, we get her up at about 7 every day, right? She'll feed a little and then she comes down, and, I always do breakfast, and then we kind of get her ready for school. And then I drive her into daycare because I'm working from home fully now. But it's like, I almost feel more of a rush to make sure my checklist is done for the day, so that by the time 5:30 hits or 6 or whenever I, am done, it's all done. Then I can go into full dad mode. Um, So it's similar levels of motivation, but how to get there and why the motivation's there is a little different, which has taken a lot of stress off. It's more stressful because it's like it's a mouth to feed, and there's college, and I had a daughter, so there's a wedding, and there's that stuff. But it's also less stressful because it's like, oh hey, like she's healthy, my wife's healthy, there's a roof over our head, and everyone's got food. Like, that's what matters.
It is pretty remarkable how something that is so obvious, no matter what part of life you're in, can still change perspective when it actually happens. Having an additional mouth to feed, having a baby, having an offspring of your own, yes, of course, your life is going to change with all of those things, but it is strange. I obviously we haven't given birth yet at the time of this recording, but I can acknowledge all those things. I can talk about it with everyone. Everyone's still going to continue to tell me until it happens how much my life is going to change, how different everything is going to be. But I know people are saying that because you can't fully grasp what it actually means until it all happens. And I do think that is so interesting in kind of how that is a small microcosm for kind of the greater life that we all live is like you can have these ideas around you. You can expect certain things, but until they happen, you can't sympathize. You can't actually understand what it is. You think you have an idea, but you never actually know. And it's it is strange how much actually changes when that moment comes.
Yeah, and I mean, Adam, you and I have texted about this and talked about it a little, and I think that's exactly right. Because like I have two really good friends in Atlanta who they both have two kids, and they had their kids before we had Livy, and it was kind of the same thing. They'd always be like, "Oh, well, wait until this, you'll feel this," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, I'll see you later. I'm going to the bar." It was like that kind of thing, and then like it happens and you're like, oh, like they're right, like everything they've said, there's just this feeling. And I that's why I keep saying I'm so excited for you, because you get to experience it soon. And it's like this, like having a kid is the most uniquely non-unique thing in the world, right? Everyone has kids. They've been having kids for thousands years, right? But everyone's experience is so different and the feelings are so different that it's the most unique thing in the world, and just kind of changes your perspective on everything. And it's definitely changed like my work perspective for sure, but in a lot of good ways.
Hearing you answer a lot of these questions and talk about work, family, kids, a little part of me is also thinking about how Jake would be in this interview and how widely different you are as brothers, but also the same. Like, what do you think plays into that aspect? Like, you guys lived very different lives and went very different routes. So now being a father and also looking at your brother, like, what do you think shaped that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is marrying my high school sweetheart, right? Like that was probably the biggest driver. Is I've been with Alex for a really long time now, 15 years.
Better remember the
So
number.
yeah, so it's uh, it's having that different, path from there, because a lot of the paths, like you said, we took are somewhat similar. Very sports heavy background. We were both in Tallahassee at one point. There are some similarities and stuff, but for him, it's more of, he hasn't been with someone since he was 17, 16, 17. But a lot of the morals and stuff are shaped similarly. It's just the path we took is so different. I'm also 4.5 years older, so it's also having just that age gap as well.
Banko really digging deep, pulling up the family here, huh?
Man, got to get out of FP&L every once in a while.
You do, but there's so much else. In maybe this is a conversation we can spend some time on. I was about to go the other way and start to pull some from some other places. I know we talked a lot about your wife Alex off air and the amazing things that she's doing, not just raising your daughter, but uh, on the way to being a full-fledged architect. I don't know what the proper terminology is between the difference because I know she's currently an architect versus taking a test to also be an architect. But maybe I'll ask one more question about Jake and kind of the different routes that you guys have gone. Um, you are very close with at least your immediate family. I haven't really met your cousins or others who are up over in Missouri or who wherever around the world.
Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas, my bad. Kansas
Yeah.
City. Yeah, it's all the same. All the same to me. I know it's not the same at all, but I apologize for that. Sorry. Slap on my wrist. I guess we all have our screw ups. Banko's inability to form a sentence, your inability to understand what a word is today. I forget what word you tried to create earlier. Dysphorus or something like that. I don't even know what that was.
Disposure.
Disclosure. It was disclosure.
Disposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Disclosure.
good one. Disposure is an excellent word. And I'm going to try to work that in as well, much like Banko said. But you are super close to your immediate family, especially the relationship you have with your brother. Have you picked up on maybe why you have this closeness and how maybe it's impacted you in your growth, whether it's in career or life decisions that you've made?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were always really big on just us being really close. Of course, Jake and I, when we were younger, we were brothers, right? You fight every day, you throw stuff at each other. When I left for college, I think it kind of made us realize how close we were. Um, and then, as we've kind of evolved and, he took the baseball path, I tried to take the baseball path and it just didn't really work out for me. So I had things that I could tell him, in college of, hey, this is going to happen. This may happen, so we grew closer there as well, through his career a little bit. And then, to this day, he's my best friend and we're super close. And then, I'm really close with my parents and, it's nice to go to them for advice. My dad's in the business world, right? He's worked for Bank of Montreal for 30 years at this point, high up in HR, and he's seen the inner workings of kind of the corporate landscape and really helped me kind of make some big decisions. And my mom's always been there every step of the way for any question or any guidance, anything I need. So it's really just kind of helped shape my maturity a lot. My parents really helped me um, not grow up faster than I need to, but look at things in a way that was maybe a little more, developed than my age. Especially, the last couple of years with wanting to make big career moves and some of the things that haven't worked out or I haven't pursued, just having their guidance of like, yeah, I'm not sure, you're in a pretty good spot right now. I'm not sure I'd shake the boat or, rock the boat. So yeah, it's just been nice to lean on them.
Do you think being the older brother and kind of trying to help Jake through life has been beneficial, or like what have you used or not used as a father? Like I feel like there's some similarities there in a sense. I'm not saying Jake is your child, but maybe to a little bit of an extent.
Yeah, I mean, he was always like, I mean, we used to hang out all the time, right? It was the teaching how to throw a ball, teaching how to shoot, teaching how to hit, swing a golf club, where we were just in the backyard, right? It was us doing whatever. And, Jake's much better athlete than I was. But, it was some of those things where I always took a little pride in, oh, I, would beat him in basketball one-on-one for so many years. I remember the day that he finally just smoked me, right? And like you get excited about that. And now that he's an adult, he's forged his own path. He's done great. He's in a really good industry, and he's really good at it. But some of those things, like, I know I can teach Libby, like, hey, do this way, kind of approach this way. And, I'm excited for, as she gets older, some of those things that, just see how her personality develops and what worked, with myself, what worked with Jake, what Alex saw success in, and how we can pass that on to her.
Going back to family life within the walls of your home, is it difficult, if you guys have even begun these sorts of discussions, of what you might want to do long-term career-wise while raising a child and developing a family? I don't know if you guys plan on trying to have additional children or what that looks like for you, but in the working world, you and Alex both hold incredible jobs and have worked tremendously hard to get to where you are. But then I know it's really difficult to look at spending on childcare every month and
Yeah.
understanding that someone else during the day might be spending more time with your daughter than you do. And I don't bring that up to try to make you sound or feel guilty at all. That's not the goal of this question, but that's a very real predicament that a lot of people find themselves in, of I have this career, something I worked for, something I'm passionate about, but I also have this life that I've created with my partner, and I want to be there for it. Have you and Alex had
Yeah.
those discussions, and how have you guys kind of worked through that, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things I've always been attracted to with Alex is how motivated she is. And I mean, she was top of her class in undergrad. She went to Georgia Tech for grad school. She's got a great job. She's already had a couple promotions. I mean, that's always been something that I've loved. And she was raised by a woman who was extremely successful in the corporate world as well. So she's seen that growing up. I grew up watching both my parents work when I was a kid. My mom was a stay-at-home mom once I got older, but she had a really successful job in HR growing up as well too. And I've seen my dad, so we both had that background. But we've had the conversations of like I said, once 5:30 hits, it's dad mode, right? She luckily works only 5-6 minutes from the house. So our big goal is, you eat dinner together, right? We want to hold that for as long as we can, once we get older. And it's understanding, like, yeah, we're going to have daycare costs while they're young. But, like on weekends specifically, like Friday nights, we don't do a lot anymore because it's our family time, right? Like we let Libby stay up a little later. We play outside, we do things, and it's as we get older and we take on higher positions and promotions and all these kind of stuff, we want to make sure that we're, one, good husband and wife to each other, two, great parents, three, great people, just in general. And then like let the cards fall where they may for work wise, and just keep doing what we know we want to do. And if something happens and all of a sudden I'm working 60, 70 hours a week and it's affecting my relationship with my wife and my kids, then something needs to change,
If you, building off of that, could, like, what is the ideal life look like to you? Job wise, family wise, like if money didn't matter.
Well, if money didn't matter, I'd be an archaeologist.
You would study rocks.
No,
No, bones, fossils.
I was close.
No, like dig stuff up.
Banko, that's
Study history.
your favorite show. Ross, wasn't he an archaeologist?
He was. That is where I was thinking of, and rocks just came to my mind. I don't know.
You
why.
are not firing this morning.
No,
I
he was a
know.
he was a paleontologist. He did
Oh,
dinosaurs.
my
You're
bad.
right. You're right.
Yeah. No, I mean for me, it's my ideal life is like I think everyone's goal is to give their kids a better life than what they had. I had a really, really good childhood and I really can't complain. So it's what are the things that I want to improve upon for Livy and her future siblings? Make sure they're happy, healthy, have, a focus on my marriage that is putting that first. And it's, having a loving household where, Livy and the future siblings look up and be like, yeah, my parents were in love, that type of thing. And then work wise, it's something that gives me kind of continuing on a path of I had a great CFO at Paya before it got sold, where he was always at his kids' softball practices. He was hanging out, he was there as a dad every night. And when stuff got really busy, he'd log back on later at night, or he'd log on super early in the morning. And he just found time to be successful while still, being the most successful parent and husband he could. And that's my goal, is create just kind of a happiness where, where life, I get motivation, I get happiness from work. So I still want to be successful, but I also know that, you got to have happy kids, got to have happy wife, and that's more fulfilling.
Switching gears now, what are other things that bring you joy on a much more simple level? Like you wake up today and what's going to make you smile besides getting to spend time with your daughter and your wife on a Saturday? Like what are the little things that I guess will just make you smile, make you chuckle on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it used to be FSU football, and that's just died horrifically. No, I used to really love golf. Played a lot of golf pre-child. It's a little time consuming. Love tennis. I'm still sports obsessed. But like today we're going to hang out with some friends and, at the FSU Spirit Fest, the kickoff to the season. And I've always been a massive extrovert, really social, as you guys know. So I love hanging out with people. That gives me a lot of joy. And, you know, those types of things are kind of, it's just nice to take your mind off stuff. I got into tennis, like I was mentioning, the last couple years. Really like tennis. Didn't know I'd ever get into that.
You did work at a tennis club for a little bit, dude.
I know, and
I think that was
never
always in
played.
there.
Yeah, yeah. So I've gotten into that. I've always really loved to read, just in general. But I've got a couple good books I'm working on right now. So yeah, those kind of things just make me happy.
And I'll make another shift here to something that we haven't even mentioned yet, but definitely needs some love, is the celebration of your entrepreneurial spirit with Bounce Dads Atlanta, correct? Isn't
Yeah,
that the title?
yeah.
This is where we should have spent all our time on the podcast instead of putting it at the end. We should have tried to give you some free advertisement. No free ads. You want to sponsor us?
Yeah. Well,
All right, cool.
I'll send you some shirts.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
We'll slap a logo on here somewhere.
Yeah,
We'll find a way.
T-Word is sponsored by Bounce Dads.
Yeah.
It's got a
All
ring
right, tell
to
us
it.
about Bounce Dads.
Yeah, so we rent inflatables to like children's parties and actually anyone's parties. We had some adults rent it once. Me and two of my good friends up here, actually the guys I were mentioning that had the kids, before we did. We were at one of their kids' birthday parties, and they had just rented a bounce house. And me and the other guy were sitting there after a few drinks, and we're like, we had talked about it a little before, kind of as a joke, but we're like, we should really buy a couple of these and just rent it out to people. Because, like, you think about it, you have, they have two kids. You rent out two inflatables a year. That's $800 right there. If you're doing an inflatable at each, birthday party, that's just base, $700-800. So we've bought three. We're looking to buy probably more here in the next few months. And we store them in my store, shed out back, and we rent out to friends and family mainly right now, but we've had a couple random people, and we go set it up and tear it down, and it's a good little side hustle. And then it's raining today, but if it wasn't, we were literally just going to pull one out, and the kids would come over to our place and everyone would just bounce around. So it's also just a good entertainment thing. So yeah, it kind of started as a jokingly semi-drunk idea that now we've turned into a little business.
I totally forgot about bounce dads until Adam mentioned it. So yeah, that's on us. That was the original. That was the original reason we brought you on the podcast too. So you just dove straight into FP&L, and
Was it?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't want to hear anything about what you're doing with your day job. We only wanted to hear about the entrepreneurial ventures. That's what this country was founded on.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because, like, you can go to our website at bouncedadsatl.com.
Or your socials, which are
bouncedadsatl. We'll drop some links in the description after the podcast
Whoa,
drops.
whoa. Easy with the we. What do you mean by we?
You mean me?
It's fine. I'll drop them in the Instagram comments so people can follow. But yeah, we did this. Our whole goal, to be honest, is we want to run it for a year and a half, get everything paid down, paid off, and then we're looking at, how do we turn this into something where we have some kid from Kennesaw State or Georgia Tech who's just trying to make some money on the weekends, and he goes and sets it up and tears it down, right? And then all of a sudden you start buying more and more of these, and you have 5 to 10, and you're renting out 3 to 5 a weekend on half the weekends of the year, and someone else is putting it up for you. And all of a sudden in a couple years, we've got a little, healthy flow of dollars coming in from bounce houses. So that was kind of the thought, and that's the plan for now.
Well, let me hop back in here real quick, because I'm hearing a lot about the dollars you're trying to make and not the lives that you're trying to impact. And if you're going to attack this venture with the true spirit of an entrepreneur, you need to focus less on that bottom line and understand that that's going to take care of itself. If you value the smiles, the laughs, the joy, and the memories that you are creating for these children and their families.
I forgot you studied under Yellow Tux Jesse or whatever his name.
Oh, do not. Banko, cut that shit. That is. I was an entrepreneur well before that, Slister. I don't work for other people. I have only worked for myself. And as a result, I have quickly realized everything I just said in a less podcasty, preach to my friend manner of, no, I'm really passionate about that. Like, yes, dude, I know you're doing this as like a fun side venture with your buddies, and there is a motivation to make money. I'm not a Boy Scout. Of course I want to make money from FlexPro Grip. I wanted to make money from Nosby. I want to make money from everything that I've tried in the entrepreneurial world. And I'm not numb to that. But I just wanted to put that out there to be a little bit of an asshole, but also stress the point that if you are going to do something as a venture and you want to be successful, I think people often get caught up in the money that they want to make or the status or the lifestyle that they're trying to create for themselves as opposed to the mission of the actual venture.
Yeah, and I think one of our keys within the mission too is you look at a kid's birthday, right? And we just had my daughter's first, and it's a great example. You spend
Yeah, thanks for
days
the
getting
invite,
ready. You spend days getting ready for it, right? So you're power washing stuff, you're cleaning the inside of the house, you're doing you're mowing the lawn, doing the bush, everything you can think of. I mulch, blah blah blah. Well, you have this aspect of like that's fine, but are the kids that are coming having fun, right? And it's like, well, what are they going to remember? Well, they're going to remember what they did at the party. Oh, they had a cool bounce house. It had a ball pit. It had this, and so part of it's also we live in Atlanta. There's a lot of townhomes. There's a lot of apartments. So it's like, what is a service we can provide that gives people birthday parties or events or whatever that they're going to remember. So we've already done a couple random one of the parties we did was a red, white, and blue party for some twins birthday party. And, so we got all the bounce pit balls and we did all the stuff. And, the first thing the mom said when we picked it up was like, thank you. Everyone had a blast. And that's kind of the goal too. Cause now that I do have a kid and I've watched my friends with kids, it's what do they care about? And it's like, well, they want to have fun. And like, this is a venture that also like they get to have fun. And like I said, we now own some bounce houses where our kids get to have fun just randomly. So there is the, dual aspect of it. Like we've set it up at our friend's house a couple times, the big water slide, just to have a pool day with friends and a slide day. So there's different motivations behind it, but eventually it's like, do we turn this into an event company? And like all of a sudden you start renting out tables, a popcorn machine, a margarita machine, like all these little things where it's like people remember birthdays, events, it's special. How do you make it special? And so that's kind of where it all came from.
I do like that you're hiding behind saying it's for the fun of your kids by setting it up at your friend's house. Don't lie. It's 100% for your fun and enjoyment, and you wanted to be a kid.
Yeah, no, we definitely use the stuff too. I mean, the water slide's a blast. As long as I don't pull a hammy, we're all good.
Have
You
you done
better
that yet?
bring one of those to every bachelor party or event that we have in the friend group from here on out.
Oh yeah. I mean, the 16-foot slide's a blast. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Do you rent out to Florida, specifically the Tampa Bay area?
No,
Can I do a day rental and have it set up?
I'm gonna have to expand some insurance and permitting law or permits there.
So you're willing to drive the 8 hours in a day to set it up and tear it down. Perfect. That's what I heard.
I'll just pass it through to your bill.
I didn't say it was my bill. I didn't say I was paying for it.
What do the permits look like for all that? How much extra work have you had to do on this venture aside from just purchasing inflatables?
The insurance is intense. So the insurance was a couple week long process. Where, I went back and forth with multiple companies, 8-9 page applications. So there's, we did a lot of the stuff through no free ads, legal Zoom. That was just kept it pretty high level. They help you with submitting a bunch of that stuff. But, the insurance was intense. So it's taken a little effort. And then my buddies do the more operational side of things, like the invoicing and the website and all that stuff. And it's not super invasive into our personal lives, but it takes up a little time.
So do families have to sign waivers before each use?
Oh yeah. And really, if we wanted to be like super covered, which we don't have to, because it also falls under the homeowner's insurance on top of our insurance. There's multiple layers, but some companies have each kid and each parent sign a waiver just to get on it. So we have whoever's renting do the waiver, but we could also be like, hey, little Timmy, like, let's get your John Hancock right here. I know you're 6 years old, but this is legally binding.
You should 100% start doing that.
Oh, it'd be so funny. Just
Teach kids the law early on.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Counter
Soft
sue a
skills. Soft skills.
6-year-old.
Specifically set it up where you have a lollipop stand right next to the bounce house. I think that's going to be the best move possible.
Yeah, yeah. But it's been fun so far. We'll work as much or as little as we want. You know, it's we have certain weekends blocked out that we know we're all gone, and so
I think we're approaching a guest appearance here from questioning questions with Quentin himself.
Yeah.
I see Banko yelling off
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, Q did just walk in, so that's why I've been going on mute.
Yeah, are we going to get a guest appearance, or is he just going to distract you from our interview?
He's putting some groceries away right now. I don't know.
I still want to be compensated for my questioning questions with Q.
Did Slisher come up with questioning questions with Quentin?
Oh, that's Slisher's bitch ass? Oh. Listen, hey, you got to deal with them, not me. I just say shit. They're the ones who are advertising and all that, so that's all.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna sue them under the Bounce Dad's name.
Perfect.
I don't think
For
you came
what?
up with it.
I definitely came up with it. I will find the text.
You have a text that says that?
I'm more than positive.
I searched it. I didn't see anything.
I came up with questions with Q. I know I did.
All right, that's fair. You came up with questions with Q. The segment's called questions with Quentin. So,
Damn it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Loophole.
Lawyer.
And it's recorded, so we're good. It's on record.
It is on record, and this will be produced because if you think we're editing anything, you're out of your damn mind. That requires additional time from Banko that he is not willing to spend.
No.
That would take away from his sauna and his runs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anything else, Lister?
No, this was fun. This was fun.
Good.
I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
I'm glad I finally understand a bit more of what you do because I got you past verticals and horizontals and diagonals and ABCs and
Revenue, gross revenue.
EFGs.
Yeah, I don't think so many people don't understand payments that it's its own little world, but it's starting to make a little more noise. So
I certainly didn't understand it, and now I feel like I can at least say I know what some of those words are.
well, good. That's why we're here, right?
That is the purpose, which is why I said, please explain it to me like I'm 5, because in this industry, I am 5. But thank you, Slister. Thank you for doing this. Much appreciated. And you are a valued friend to us all.
I appreciate that.
At least to me. I don't want to speak for everyone else. I appreciate the relationship that we share.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's the most professionally I can state that, I believe.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Banko?
I don't have anything else. My brain is not firing, as we all know.
Yeah. Go get in the sauna.
Dude,
mix in a water.
Lock it in. You're faking this.
I'm faking this?
You should have just triple dosed your creatine this morning, and you would.
I didn't take any. I fucked up. I took vitamin C. I took some zinc this morning. Took some greens powder. But
you have your caffeine. You just missed the creatine, the thing that'll actually get the brain firing.
I know.
This is on you, man.
I know.
Yeah, Slister, how's your creatine journey?
Love it.
Good.
Really like it.
Have you started overdosing it at all to try to counteract any sleep deprivation issues you might be facing while raising a daughter?
No. I'm still at 5 grams. I'm liking it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ordered a whole new bag of creatine to prep for when baby Sprout gets here. And
it's so cheap.
I won't be sleeping.
It's so cheap.
Yes, it is. So here, how many podcasts have we talked about creatine on? We're gonna need a creatine sponsor at some point.
At least 2.
I want to say more than that.
I mean,
This
probably.
might be number 3 or 4. I mean, I talk about it a lot on the Layback podcast, so this I could just be convoluting
Yeah, I think
information in my
yeah,
mind.
I think more of that.
Okay, well, bulk supplements hit us up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bulksupplements.com hit us up. We're your target audience.
Exactly.
But all right, Slister, we'll end this once and for all. Thanks a ton for joining us today. This was great. As Banko and I mention often, it is really enjoyable to actually have the conversations with our friends that we never have when we're spending time together and understand more about their lives. Maybe talk about something serious and not the parlay that failed miserably on them or some drunk story from college or something like that. But dude, this was great. It was awesome hearing from you. I appreciate all the advice and support in this journey that I've been on. And I'll be talking to you shortly. Everyone else out there, listen to Banko's outro. Get in touch with us if you want to get involved in some capacity. Sponsors, we're looking for you. We would love to do this full time. Banko loosely promises to cut back on his nightly habits if we have some financial kickbacks coming in
Yes.
that can motivate him to be more on point during these interviews.
100%.
There we go. That's all we needed. Bye everyone. Great talk today.
Yeah.
Peace.
Hi everyone, Grant here. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you could like, share, and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you think you or someone you know has a good life story to tell, we are always open to guest suggestions. You can send those suggestions to our email, tworkpod@gmail.com. Thanks again for the support.